English video lesson. Today our lesson is about story writing. We would be needing our Oxford English books, workbooks, and the time it will take us is about 70 minutes. And get your pencils, notebooks, sharpeners and erasers ready so you do not have to run around during the lesson. Now by the end of today's lesson, we should be able to identify 5 essential elements of the story, make a draft of a story using pictures and outline provided, and writing a story of 150 to 200 words using the draft that we have made. Now let's see, what exactly is story writing? What do you think are the parts or elements of a story? Think about it. I'll wait for your answers. Now the story has 5 important elements: characters, setting, plot. Now the plot is the storyline or the events of the story, which consist of the conflict and the resolution. In the plot, a problem or conflict starts, and by the end of that story, that resolution is resolved. So these are the 5 very important elements of the story. Without a character or characters, a story is incomplete. Then it becomes an essay if there are no characters. Now setting is where the story is set, the place or surroundings. So let's look at these in detail. So the most important element that we think about before we start writing the story is what sort of characters are going to be there in the story. So characters actually are people in the story. They are their actions, the problems they are facing. That is what the story is based on. Some are major characters and some are minor characters. Now in the story, their physical description has to be quite clear, that what they look like, what they wear, are they young, are they old, which ones are young and which ones are old. It is clear in the story what sort of beliefs they have, what are their attitudes, how do they behave, what are their likes and dislikes, and also there are some main characters and there are some minor characters, as I told you. So without the character, a story is incomplete. If any description or something like that has no character going through some problem, then it would be an essay and not a story. So in any story, there are certain characters whose life is mentioned or what they are going through is mentioned. Second very important element of a story is the setting. Now setting is actually the location of the story. It could be the surrounding of the story, where the characters are living or where the characters are facing certain problems. Setting is the environment, whether it is a good environment, bad environment, is it calm, is it stormy, is it comfortable, is it uncomfortable, is it scary. So these are the setting. Setting is also about what time the story is taking place, and also what is unusual in the story. The setting doesn't have to be exactly the real life setting. It could be a fantasy. The setting of a story could be in the space, it could be in the water, underwater, it could be in some magical fairyland. So any setting that can be made interesting through any sort of creativity. Now let's move on to the plot of the story. Now the plot of the story carries the other 2 essential parts of the story. Now first of all, when you're writing the story and the storyline comes the first thing, that is introduction, in which you make it clear what sort of characters are going to be there in the story and what is going to be the setting of that story. After that, we come across the rising action, in which we come across the conflict or the problem that the characters face in the story. And then that problem becomes more full of suspense, and that is where comes the climax, where the conflict is at its peak, where the problem is at its highest and we don't know how it's going to be solved. There is a lot of suspense in that part of the story. And then comes the time where the conflict of the problem starts to get solved. And then comes the resolution where all the problems are solved. This is how the story is made. It's the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Now remember, guys, your story is only going to be very, very interesting if the climax or the problem that you have thought of in the story are very, very interesting and full of suspense and has a twist of some sort. If you don't add those, if this part is not interesting, then your story is going to be boring. And you don't want people to get bored now, do you? So now that we have talked about all the 5 elements of the story, now let's watch a short film. I am sure you are going to enjoy this movie a lot, but what I want you to do is I want you to find all the 5 elements in this story. So best of luck. I hope you enjoy it. So students, did you enjoy the movie or not? I hope you enjoyed it. So did you find the 5 essential elements of a story in this movie? Okay, let's see. So which are the characters that are there in the story? Yes, the camel and the archaeologist are the two characters that are there in the story. Setting. Where is this story set in? Yes, the story is set in some Egyptian desert where they're looking for old sites of archaeology. Plot. What is the storyline of the story? Yes, very good. The archaeologist found out a remote which was able to take out some sort of a old site in the desert, and that the conflict was that the person went inside that pyramid and the camel started chewing the remote of the entry. And what happened? Everything started to get all weirded out and all out of shape, and the pyramid started to make shapes, etc., etc. How was the resolution found? Well, the camel ate the remote, and then all the pyramids disappeared, and the archaeologist was thrown out of that pyramid. So, did you enjoy the story? I hope you did. Now guys, let's plan our story for today. Open your Oxford English workbooks 5 and page number 8 and 9, exercise B. And first step is that you have to observe these pictures and tell your teacher what is happening in these pictures. Pause the video here and give your answers to your teacher. Now that you have told your teacher what the pictures were all about, now match those pictures with this plan that is given on the page about the story. Now go through this plan and see what it is about. Now we had two boys go to see a film, and you can give names to these boys and you can give the name to the film as well to make it more real. Now the boys were standing in the queue, others people were also standing in the queue. Boys got very excited. There was a fight while they were buying tickets, or maybe while there was a confusion about the seats. So you can make it as real and as interesting as possible. Now how the problem was resolved of swapping the seats, that you have to come up with. Now make this part of the story as interesting as you can. You can also mention what they are wearing and what might happen next. Make the story as interesting as you can. There should be action, there should be clarity. You should make sure that the character's description is clear. You should make sure that the storyline, and now that you have thought of what sort of characters and other people you are going to add in your story and what would be your storyline, step 3 is that come to your Oxford English workbook, page number 10, and on your own try to fill up this page. All you have to do is what sort of title you would like to give to your story, what would be the names of your characters, what sort of adjectives or phrases you would like to use, what sort of adverbs you would like to use, would you be adding any conversation in the story or not, or what would be the ending of your story. Just jot down in short points what you would like to add over here. Now pause the video over here. Now that your teacher has told you what your story is like and what improvements you can make in your story plan, now you have to write the story in your notebooks. Now remember, dear students, your story should be completed in 30 minutes. It should have 150 to 200 words, 5 to 6 adjectives, 5 to 6 adverbs, and the conversation should be clear and in inverted commas. The story must be in past tense. It must have a beginning, middle, and proper ending, characters, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution. So it should have all the 5 elements of the story as well. Best of luck, guys. I hope you enjoy writing this story. Now, dear students, after completing the story, the homework for you today is that you have to make a presentation. This presentation instructions are available on textbook page number 10, and you have to make the project as beautiful as you can. The project is going to carry marks. It can be made on the chart paper or PowerPoint. That is totally your choice. Whichever part you feel comfortable with, whichever way you feel comfortable with, you can make it. Now you have to make a presentation on any one of these dangerous animals, and you have to find the answers of the questions that are given on page number 10. So submit your work on time according to your teacher's instructions. I hope you enjoy doing this research. Now students, let's wrap up today's lesson. Now tell me, what did you learn today? What are the 5 elements of the story? And one of you can read your story aloud. Have a great day.